Reflection for modern professionals: fragmented planning and the liberation of the mind. The work environment in modern society is rapidly changing. Professionals tend to pursue fragmented goals, believing that solving just this one issue will suffice, while often giving up the broader context of complex systems. This phenomenon is particularly evident in planning. Planners become buried in fragmented tasks and neglect the relationships within the entire system, forcing developers to connect these fragmented requirements, ultimately leading to technical debt and eventually paralyzing the productivity and collaboration of the entire organization. However, is this issue solely a matter of work methods, or is it deeply connected to the fundamental mindset of human nature? 1. Fragmentation of planning: the pitfall of fragmented work. The article Planning Learned Through Apprenticeship reveals a common problem in modern professionals' daily routines. When a planner begins by adding an Excel download button and progresses to adding a data sorting function, the resulting issues extend beyond version control. As individual functions become independently documented, the context of the entire system is lost, and planners come to rely more on file versions than their own memory. This phenomenon is described as planning debt, where fragmented decisions made in the initial stage create a structure that results in significant costs later. For example, transferring the grid functionality of an admin screen to Excel might seem simple at first glance. However, if planners do not consider the connections with peripheral systems such as the user registration system, permission management, and batch operations, this improvement remains fragmented. Developers may perceive these requirements not as enterprise-level system development, but as the client's requests, ultimately leading the planner to outsource their ignorance. This phenomenon results not from laziness, but from short-termism. When planners focus solely on solving visible problems, they hide the system's overall complexity and weaken trust among team members. The team leader's question, "Why are there so many planning documents?" exceeds mere management issues and reveals structural flaws in the planning system. 2. The liberation of the mind: reflection toward the end of fragmentation. This phenomenon resonates with philosophical insights from ancient traditions. The ship story in the Suttas is deeply connected to our work methods. If a chicken does not incubate an egg, no amount of hoping for a chick to hatch will change reality. Similarly, modern professionals may work hard today hoping for better results tomorrow, but repeating fragmented efforts yields no true achievements. The Suttas outline 7 core practices: shamatha, calm abiding; virya, effort; sati, mindfulness; panna, wisdom; idhipita, bases of power; samadhi, concentration; and the Eightfold Path. These are not merely methods for practice but require a systematic approach. Just as a chicken incubates an egg in stages, planners must shift from fragmented tasks to embracing the entire system. 3. The dilemma of modern professionals: the struggle between fragmentation and wholeness. Modern professionals face conflicts between their fragmented tasks and the overall system. For instance, when developers convert fragmented requirements from planning documents into code, short-term fixes often sacrifice the flexibility of the entire system. This is not technical debt, but rather an extension of planning debt. Fragmented decisions create cracks in systems, and these cracks spread, eventually paralyzing organizational collaboration. This issue becomes most acute in the relationship between planners and developers. While planners may request that a specific feature be added, developers must consider consistency with peripheral systems such as user interfaces, databases, and security policies. Secondary requirements often remain unlisted in planning documents, and developers unconsciously compensate for these omissions. This misunderstanding and lack of trust often result in project delays and increased costs. 4. From fragmentation to wholeness: practicing systemic thinking. To overcome these challenges, a shift in mindset is necessary, moving away from fragmented tasks toward embracing the entire system. The following practical approaches make this possible. 1. Planning documents centered on systems rather than step-by-step documentation. Planning documents should not merely record individual functions but serve as tools reflecting changes in the entire system. For example, a fragmentary requirement such as adding an Excel download function must be documented with relationships to the data model, user permissions, and security policies. Developers can then build code based on this, while testing focuses on verifying consistency throughout the system. 2. Expanding domain knowledge. Planners must understand peripheral systems beyond just user interfaces, including data flow, security policies, and operational processes. For instance, before adding a download function, planners should consider how it affects database performance, how user permissions are connected, and when batch operations synchronize the data. 3. Communication focused on collaboration. Planners should not view collaboration with developers as a simple request-response mechanism, but as joint problem-solving. Developers must not perceive planners' requests as purely technical issues but instead propose alternatives considering system-wide consistency. Respecting each other's expertise while improving system stability is essential. 5. The end of fragmentation and the liberation of the mind. The Suttas emphasize that merely repeating expectations is insufficient. Actual actions must drive change. This offers modern professionals the following insights. 1. Realizing systemic improvements from fragmented efforts. Instead of hoping that today's hard work will lead to better results tomorrow, fragmented efforts must be connected to overall system improvements. For example, when writing a work log, planning should analyze the impact of the added Excel download function and predict potential issues in subsequent steps rather than merely logging its completion. 2. Distinguishing necessary work from unnecessary work. The Suttas metaphor of hatching eggs helps filter out repetitive, meaningless tasks. Modern professionals often fail to distinguish between necessary and unnecessary tasks, prioritizing the latter. For instance, creating numerous planning documents for version control may be unnecessary. Instead, maintaining a single document with change history and reflecting the entire system can enhance productivity. 3. Balancing continuous improvement with short-term solutions. The metaphor of a ship sailing for 6 months suggests focusing not on short-term gains but on the long-term stability of the system. Modern organizations often prioritize short-term improvements due to pressure to show profits within a year, but this expands system cracks, eventually increasing costs. 6. Practical reflection. Real-world applications. Theoretical insights without practical application are meaningless. The following real-world examples illustrate the application of these insights. Case 1. Fragmentation of planning documents. Problem: there are dozens of planning documents for admin system modifications. Solution: create a single system-focused document describing how each function's changes affect other systems. For instance, adding an Excel download function goes beyond simply adding a button. It reflects changes related to database index settings, user permissions, and security policies. Case 2. Fragmented development and systemic impacts. Problem: developers convert fragmentary requirements from planning documents into code without considering system-wide consistency. Solution: collaborate with system architects before development to analyze how requirement changes affect other modules. For example, adding a sorting function goes beyond adding a button. It can involve optimizing database queries and changing cache policies. 7. The path toward the end of fragmentation. Modern professionals must escape the trap of fragmented work and shift toward a holistic mindset. Planners must consider the broader system's changes rather than simply adding buttons. Developers must maintain consistency in the overall architecture instead of focusing on fragmented code. This issue extends beyond work efficiency and is deeply connected to the fundamental mindset of human beings. The Suttas concept of liberating the mind is not merely a philosophical theory but a practical approach in real-world practice. By embracing this insight, professionals can avoid being trapped by short-term achievements and instead enhance the long-term stability of systems and the quality of collaboration. References. The insights in this article compare and complement modern work practices with philosophical propositions from the Suttas, and do not reference specific works or authors. Specific examples are fictional but based on problems likely to occur in everyday work environments. This article was written to help readers evaluate their work methods and connect fragmented efforts to improvements across the entire system. The end of fragmentation goes beyond work efficiency. It enables true self-reflection and human